First, NFT Basel. How y'all feeling out there? All right, I hear some noise. My name's Jordan French, Grit Daily News, BlockTelegraph, VC NFT. First, though, NFT Basel, NFT BZL, whichever one you want to call it. Big round of applause for Moisha Manna, Michelle Abs, and the team. Our hard at work backstage, Albert Berdelens for the intro. Some awesome content, which we're about to bringing you to that next. Exactly is. Scott Berger's with me, Addison Taylor Fine Jewelry. We're going to talk about diamonds. Thanks, Scott. I'll give you a seat right here next to your lovely wife. Marla Berger, so good to see you again. As always, you have a seat right here. George Lang, Peabody-award-winning journalist, unpack some wild stories for us here. And let's get started. I know we want to be nice and efficient. This looks nice and comfortable to me.
You seem so far away, though.
You're far away.
Instead of between two ferns.
I can't see you through the forest. Let me move this.
Yes, between the one fern. Is this a fern? It's like an aloe. It's good for our skin. So, awesome. You know, George, this was a burning question in all our minds in the audience. You're the journalist. Shouldn't you be seated here?
Well, you know what? This production team is doing a hell of a job here today. So for all these people that are making this all happen, a big round of applause for you, because you've gone through a lot with all of these people, getting them up here and getting them on stage. So, yeah, good job.
Great. So back to my question, George. Shouldn't you be in this seat moderating?
Not today. I don't want to do that. Because you know why? This is a unique set of subjects.
And speaking of subjects, you had a storied career, for the uninitiated, as a journalist at CBS Interactive for over 2 decades.
Actually, I worked for CBS as a freelancer. I worked for NBC as a freelancer, and I spent 22 years with ABC. And in that time, did a couple of fun things that kind of stick with you. I did the war in Rwanda, did a bunch of deep sea diving in the Pacific. You know, a lot of things that created a lot of memories.
Super cool, and you know, journalists, they capture stories. Reporting is already interesting. I do a lot of it myself as a journalist, but yours have been particularly almost bizarre. In fact, you were nearly arrested in one of your incidences that bridges this conversation to some of the NFTs that you have here today. One of them was a Patty Hearst trial that you ended up sort of circuitously covering. Can you just share that with the audience so we can unpack who you are, George?
Well, that was a kind of an interesting thing for that entire generation, where you had a kidnapping that was turned into a rather large world event. And as a result of that, I ended up with a lot of personal relationships in it. My dad was in the FBI, and when I've been covering that case for an entire year while she'd been kidnapped, and my dad never ever shared any information about any cases they ever worked on or anything. But in this particular case, I got a phone call from my dad. I'm going, what's going on? I said, Patty Hearst has been arrested. So I had like an hour ahead of anybody else in the world to get down to the federal building and try and get pictures of her being transported. I went down there. I found a place to hide in the garage. I heard the tires squealing on the polished concrete. And when I made my move to try and get pictures of her, I ended up on the ground with my head squished against the concrete, and the U.S. Marshal on top of me and stuff. So that was kind of interesting. And obviously, I didn't get any pictures at that point. But they felt so bad for me that I ended up shooting Patty Goes In, Patty Goes Out in the trial every day. So I was quite close with the family as well over that time. And on one particular day, we were still shooting 16 millimeter film. That's not even, you can't even refer to that as analog anymore. But we're shooting 16 millimeter film, and I was with the courtroom artists going through the different sketches that we were planning on shooting. And at one point I said, that one's wrong. And the courtroom artist, of course, as an artist, there's an ego. And so when I said that, he turned around and said, "What the hell are you talking about?" to which point I pointed out to him that Patty Hearst is on the stand. She's got a weapon, and he had drawn it with a banana clip on it. This particular weapon takes a straight magazine to it. So that was a flaw. And at that point, he picked it up, threw it on the ground, and it popped up underneath my tripod. And he says, when it was time for him to leave, he gathered all his stuff, and I said, hey, you forgot this one. And he said, you caught it. So that was 45 years ago. And it was in my office forever, and anytime anybody came in, they would go.
And that's here today, the actual sketch.
Yes.
It's like infamous trial. Patty Hearst joins the PLO, eventually gets arrested at the federal courthouse that you broke into. You eventually circuitously get assigned to cover it, and you end up the only sketch, and that's here, and she's holding a gun. Turn it into an NFT, so it's a collectible. We'll get to that in just a moment. And you reference stories. And speaking of stories, Addison Taylor, your jewelers and your beautiful designs. I've seen them, but for this audience, why are you some of the first to, sort of immerse yourselves in the world of NFTs? To lay some foundation, who are some of the folks that you've worked with?
Jordan, well, first, thank you for allowing us to be here today. We're so grateful to be here at NFT Art Basel, so thank you first and foremost. My wife and I have designed collections around the world for UFC, Playboy, the Pope at the Vatican, helping all the refugee children around the world, international leaderships of Windsor Castle and St. George's House in London, hundreds and thousands around the world that we've been honored and grateful to design one-of-a-kind pieces, whether simple or outside the box.
So sounds like a good business to be in. Why bother to do more with the particular NFT collections that you've launched?
Well, I would say what's amazing about going into the NFT, and it's all about the metaverse, and now what we're able to do with diamonds is actually that's never been able to be done before, is that it's indisputable. Having this NFT will authenticate every stone, every piece of jewelry that you've ever had. If anyone has a piece and they're not sure about it, we'll be able to authenticate everything.
And you mentioned the metaverse. It goes a step further to the inquiring minds in this audience. The metaverse is this sort of like mystical place. You can drop NFTs into it. Turns out people will be playing games with the NFTs that they buy. There are a lot of iterations. And you have a particular, like, really cool one that's got a superhero bent to it. Tell us more.
Well, we were truly blessed to receive the Trinity collection of the 3 very rarest stones in the world, and the chameleon diamond, the 15.5 carat cushion, and then the 40 carat heart shape, which creates a ceremony of peace, balancing masculine and feminine, and bringing that peace and harmony into the world in a time that's so needed to really understand we're all the same. We're here about peace and love and harmony.
Certainly, but who here, and we can see you vaguely and faintly, who here owns a diamond or has a relative that owns a diamond? I would imagine, just raise your hand, don't be shy. It's okay, up in the back, we can see you.
Grab them quick.
Yeah, even the folks working, we recognize you. So, it's a very accessible thing, but one thing that's unique, you said, speaking of the metaverse, you said there's also a film treatment, Scott, for this.
This is incredible. We've been honored. So through this gift we were given with the Trinity collection, our producer said this is a trilogy, this is a movie, this is a ceremony of peace, and already have done the treatment, sort of like a superhero Wonder Woman, but it's an actual true story, or we'll say fact and fictional. And it's...
Yeah, and the person who really inspired all this was someone who introduced us to this NFT world, Bill Gladstone. So yeah, we're grateful for him connecting all of us with the NFT. And what's so amazing is that through the NFTs, we'll also be able to give back to charity.
And this is what this is about. Through our foundation, the Tree of Life Movement, and the Tree of Life Movement Foundation is to make sure we do reach every child in the world, to gift them an intention stick and let these children know that they are loved, they matter, they have purpose, they are as important as anyone else in this world, which they are. And it's our obligation, it's our duty to make sure that every child knows that they are believed in.
Certainly, charity, philanthropy is a big part of the NFT space. We'll set that aside. conversationally just unpack this some more, because I want to get to George on some of the other, just tell us stories, George, about the crazy stuff you've done in your life. You mentioned earlier about, deep sea, not deep sea, but a diving expedition that you went on. You have another artwork with you here that you also turned into an NFT, and that is the most famous ship from World War II, the USS
The USS Arizona, yes. Wow. And in regards to that as well, it's like, why NFT? These are family, these are experiences, these are stories that are behind something that you can and many of us have artifacts at home, which is what I'm calling them. For me, they're photojournalistic in that sense as an artifact. And when I look at it, as far as why do it as an NFT, it's like, this is, proof that this was the story behind it. This was the history behind it. And in the case of the USS Arizona, I was blessed enough to be able to be one of the first civilians to ever dive on the USS Arizona.
Wow.
And had dove on it 4 or 5 times since. But in this particular case, I was going down with what was called the United States Park Police Park Service Underwater Submerged Cultural Unit.
That's a mouthful.
And based in Arizona, a bunch of divers, archaeologists.
Perhaps fittingly after the ship name,
made no
but
sense
despite
to
the
me.
desert location, yes.
But I'd worked with them on a couple of projects in Bikini Atoll and Truck Lagoon, and what they were doing is 806 feet of ship has been cataloged via little charts that people were drawing on underwater, and the conditions were awful. Big current, couldn't see what was going on, which is why they sketched, because they could take sections and put them all together. And in completing that, and I'm telling you, that was quite a dive. Not a deep dive, but there was a lot of challenges in that. And you made a lot of camaraderie with a lot of the divers that were involved, and the folks who put this document together, which I have upstairs. But the point of that was that we were given that finished document as thanks for what we did in getting all this information together. And the part of it that made sense to me was, like, I kept going, why are we doing this? And the reality was, if you go to the US Arizona now, the memorial, you'll see a scale version of what we did and what the ship looks like today. So you see the explosion parts come out, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, such a cool use case for the blockchain, certainly.
Right.
Talking what are really historical artifacts, we established how many people had diamonds at home. Some people have collectibles. Your stories are just absolutely wild. I know these are totally one of a kind. We're so grateful that you brought them here too to display and let people check that out. Patty Hearst trial, and then with a gun in her hands. I've seen it. You got to check this out. Same with the USS Arizona. Love these stories. Wish I had time to unpack more. I do want to go to Marla on this because I noticed you're wearing something, and if you could just show, if you could pan in there with a camera, some of the other cool works.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that's for the Pope or someone else, but unpack this one for us. It looks like a dolphin.
It is a dolphin. Good eye. So Scott and I actually worked with the leading veterinarians, dolphin veterinarians.
Almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years.
Around the world.
We traveled to Hawaii and California, and so we created this beautiful dolphin pendant. It is anatomically correct. We actually had to get the thumbs up from these veterinarians, so it wasn't just a creation. I mean, this took a lot of time, a lot of process, a lot of detail, and it's encrusted with 568-point diamonds. So it's roughly under 6 carats of diamonds, and in white gold, and signed by Scott because he actually designed the piece himself. So we actually are selling this here along with the NFT.
It's such a cool, again, use case, very accessible subject. People know these, know what diamonds are, know what these collectibles are, but some of the things that you've unpacked to record, right? Record the sort of the ship's, log to as a document to attach that as an NFT. Same with the dolphin, right? The veterinaries kind of sign off. These are awesome use cases. my hope is that this audience can borrow and carry from that, and also not forget the philanthropic element that you bring. Absolute national treasures, though, on stage here. Awesome work that you relayed earlier. George Lang, Peabody-award-winning journalist. I'm Jordan French, Grit Daily. That's all the time that we have. A big round of applause for George, Marla, Scott Berger, Addison Taylor. Check out the concourse above. There's some awesome exhibitions up there. These are 2 of them. Jordan French, again, enjoy the rest of your NFT Basel. Until next time.